The sizable number of Africa's youthful population are looking to entrepreneurship to build their careers. In order to bolster the decision to seek alternatives to salaried employment, many of Africa's enterprising youth in 2022 will be seeking access to finance, skills training, mentorship, and others in order to forge ahead in their respective innovative endeavors. How exactly to get the support for those endeavors is our topic of discussion in this segment. We're joined by Ifeyinwa Ugochukwu, CEO of the Tony Elumelu Foundation, to talk further. Good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Fantastic. So how would you describe the journey of the average African entrepreneur in terms of access to finance and skills training?
Well, first of all, I always say that African entrepreneurs are the unsung heroes of our world, because doing business in Africa is one of the most difficult things to succeed. So African entrepreneurs, the basic thing that they need is training, access to capital, and mentoring. You know, having someone who's walked the road they're trying to walk on, hold their hands, and show them the landmines. And that is exactly what we offer at the Tony Elumelu Foundation, because our entrepreneurship program has those three pillars: training, access to funding, and mentoring.
Great stuff. Is the existence of your foundation proof positive that African governments across the continent can't do this alone in terms of supporting entrepreneurs?
I think you just hit on the principle of Afrocapitalism, which was coined by our founder and which I think is becoming a household term. Afrocapitalism basically states that the development of the African continent can only be done with the private sector, working hand in hand with the public sector and other development organizations. It's not something one man can do, and it's clear, because most African governments today understand now that entrepreneurship is the key. We need to end the days of training our youth to have a job-seeking mentality and train them to have a job-creating mentality. That way we can ensure that the SMEs, which are the powerhouses of any economy, and especially Africa, produce enough jobs because they are empowered, because they have the training, they have the funding, and they're given life. We must always keep them at the top of our priority, both globally and on the African continent. Great
stuff. Speaking of giving life, very important here. Last year, I believe you gave about almost $25 million to about 5,000 entrepreneurs in 2021. Is that something that continues this year and into the foreseeable future? How do you measure the impact of that on those entrepreneurs?
So as you know, the Tony Elumelu Foundation committed $100 million to African entrepreneurs over a period of 10 years. We're 8 years in. This means that every year we give $1 million to qualified entrepreneurs. That's 1,000 of them, $5,000 each. So everything on top is as a result of the participation of our partners. Last year, 2022, we had partners such as the European Commission, United Nations Development Program, ICRC, the Republic of Benin, and these partners understand the importance of prioritizing entrepreneurship and funding entrepreneurs. And we know that working with them alongside new partners this year, we will do even more than the $25 million. And of course, it's important to know that last year we did over 60% women were our beneficiaries. And so gender inclusion is so important to us, and we want to continue to build on that.
Yeah, in fact, glad you touched on that point. That is it's a major topic of discussion as far as entrepreneurship is concerned, and so that's a deliberate focus for you as far as the female entrepreneurs are concerned.
Absolutely. We all know when you empower a woman, you empower a nation.
Right.
And so ensuring that women who often culturally have a disadvantage, culturally in a lot of evil cultures, a lot of Nigerian cultures, including the Igbo culture, women are not even allowed to own property. Of course, that's not the case in the real world, but it has trickled in, because you find that when you look at the bank books, majority of the beneficiaries of their loans are men.
Right.
20-30% are women. So what we need to see is to bridge that gap, that finance gap that women face in access to loans, access to financing. And that is why we prioritize women, because if we give them that foot in the door, if we give them that ability to prove their concept and de-risk them, then perhaps the traditional institutions will be able to fund more women, which is what we want to see going forward.
Great stuff. So you're leading the way there. Still on that point, do we need to see a more concerted effort from the public sector and other sectors in order to close that gender gap?
100%, 100%. I think we're already seeing that. I mean, development organizations are already prioritizing gender inclusivity as one of the SDGs. We know that it is absolutely critical. And government, like Google, for instance, one of our partners, all 500 that they've empowered through our organization were all women. And so definitely it is something that is a priority for most organizations, including ourselves.
Great stuff. How do you measure the impact on because I kind of look at what you, I mean, you're a foundation, but I kind of look at you as a VC fund, but when putting startup capital for these entrepreneurs, do you give them a time zone to reflect on how far they've gone? How does that work out as far as measuring impacts on them?
So the engagement with our foundation is a lifelong thing. So entrepreneurs would start in January because the application portal opened January 1. If you visit www.tefconnect.net, you are able to apply between January 1 and March 31st. And then once you apply, you are now categorized into the training category based on your competency as an entrepreneur. Now, once you have gone through the pitching competition and you've received the seed capital, that's when the real work begins. And monitoring and evaluation is a critical part of our program. And we continue to keep in touch with entrepreneurs through a robust alumni network. We have hub leads and we have partnerships with the likes of PwC, who did an impact assessment for the foundation last year. And we work with, we have our own in-house monitoring and evaluation team who also work with experts in the industry. Because for us, it is good to know what has worked, what hasn't worked, and how best we can support entrepreneurs to make a success of their business. Because their success is our success.
Exactly, it allows you to keep.
Last point.
Yeah, go ahead. It's all you, please. More points. Make more points.
So the PwC report last year showed that direct and indirect jobs, the 9,000 plus entrepreneurs that we've empowered since 2015 have gone on to provide 400,000 direct and indirect jobs. So you can just imagine if we have empowered 100,000 entrepreneurs through our program, what that would mean in terms of job creation on the African continent.
Fantastic, fantastic. Is there a focus on, I guess, the types of entrepreneurs, as whether it's science and tech, or agriculture, or whatever else, or is there any specific preference, or you just the support is just there?
So our program is sector agnostic, and we always say that as long as you are an African living in Africa, or no, you're an African with your business in Africa, so you don't have to be living in Africa. As long as you are an African and your business is in Africa, you can apply. Sector agnostic, but we found that the top sector year on year has always been agriculture, which is fantastic and a testament to the fact that young people are realizing that agriculture is really the powerhouse of any economy. Of course, tech is big because we find that all our entrepreneurs are leveraging technology in one form or another.
Great stuff. The youth population across Africa is huge. As far as scaling, across the continent, what are the challenges? Is it challenging trying to support that many youth across such a large continent?
Well, I say it's almost like we had a peek into the future, because from 2015 our program was always online. So the application is online, the training is online, the pitching competition is online, the mentoring is online. And so that made us quite ready for what we see with the COVID-19 pandemic, the fact that remote working has become a reality for everyone, and you have to see yourself as a global player, not just a local player. And that's what we tell our entrepreneurs. So we have entrepreneurs and beneficiaries in all 54 African countries.
That's large.
We are the largest private sector-led Pan-African entrepreneurship program. However, I must say that we see obviously more numbers from certain countries like in West Africa and East Africa than from North Africa. And for us, we think it could be a cultural thing, could be a language barrier, but we continue to make sure that we have equal representation in all countries.
Okay, I'm glad you made that point, because Nigeria is the biggest, right? So we're the largest country, and does that, as far as trying to spread this out, does Nigeria get, I guess, a disproportionate amount of support? Just going by the numbers,
Going by the numbers. It's obvious that there'll be more beneficiaries from Nigeria.
Right.
But going by percentage is actually the least.
Oh.
So some countries we would select 50% perhaps of some of the people who applied. But in Nigeria, it's never up to 5% of the people who applied. So that's because 1 out of every 5 Africans is a Nigerian, and so we have much more applications from Nigeria, but the percentage in terms of those that we select is not as much. So we want to call on the Nigerian government and other development finance institutions to partner with us to ensure that those who qualify are able to access this opportunity. Because just between 2021 and 2022, we had over 400,000 applications.
That's a lot.
So selecting 5,000 is not even scratching the surface.
Right,
the need is there. No one else is focusing at the bottom of the pyramid. No one is there to give $5,000 to an entrepreneur to prove his concept, to start his journey. Because unfortunately, he may not have friends or family that can give him that very critical seed capital to start. Without that seed capital, his idea will remain trapped in his head as an idea rather than being translated into reality.
Wow, the scale is huge. Were you impacted by the COVID pandemic? Did that disrupt as far as doling out operations, assessing entrepreneurs and so on and so forth?
Just for 2020, because of the lockdowns. So in 2020, we did not have the entrepreneurship program at all because most countries were on lockdown, and we knew that our entrepreneurs often visit internet cafes or schools to have access to online access for their program. So we didn't do it in 2020, but in 2021 we made up because we had, in 2021, we had both 2020 and 2021 applicants make it through to the finalists.
So what's the outlook? Is the 5,000 number going to grow, or is it, how do you see things as far as, your continued support for entrepreneurs this year, the year, and future years to come?
So entrepreneurship is the key to economic development. We know that most of Africa's problems is 90% poverty, if not more. And if we can solve that problem of poverty, then we have gone a long way to catalyzing economic growth on the continent. So what I'm saying to partners, what I'm saying to African governments is to prioritize entrepreneurship. Give young African entrepreneurs the opportunities that they need, give them the training, give them the access to funding, give them mentoring. And don't reinvent the wheel. Find tried and tested partners, credible organizations like ours to partner with, because we all have our different skill sets, we all have our different strengths. Let's leverage each other's strengths. As they always say, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. Excellent
saying there. Oh, I have to ask this. Every entrepreneur I talk to wants Tony Elumelu to be their mentor. So how does he manage that? I guess there's a whole bunch of other mentors. You have a network available, yes, right? That makes that available to them.
But it's funny you said that, because a particular entrepreneur sometime last year actually said on his social media timeline that he would give anything to meet Tony Elumelu.
Right.
And within 2 months, he did.
He did?
Yes. So what we do, we have a mentorship session where we have a host of entrepreneurs between 50 and 100 who actually have an opportunity to have an afternoon with Mr. Elumelu, and he gives them obviously nuggets of wisdom and his own personal story. So we always make sure that he's close to the entrepreneurs, because he is the epitome of entrepreneurship.
And I have to say, his social media page is one of the best run social media pages ever. So the Elumelu
is
really awesome stuff.
Well done to our MCC team.
He's a very energetic guy. Ifeyinwa Ugochukwu, CEO, Tony Elumelu Foundation, thank you so much for joining us to talk about supporting entrepreneurs, lifeblood of any economy across Africa.
Thank you.